It's Monday night, and you know what that means. Jersey First TV proudly brings to you the latest edition of Real Talk, and I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, top 100 Latino via the Latino Spirit online magazine, without a doubt, the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media, and of course, the people's choice and the people's voice. Yes, it's me, Fernando Uribe. Folks, happy April to all of you. Shout out to everybody. Hope you had a great end of March. Certainly hope you all had a wonderful weekend. I'm rocking some red tonight. Again, shout out to all my boys hanging out this weekend as we watch the 39th edition of the Super Bowl of pro wrestling and sports entertainment. Yes, folks, WrestleMania breaking records out in SoFi Stadium out there in Hollywood and Los Angeles, California. Over 160,000 people packing SoFi Stadium for the 39th edition of WrestleMania. Shout out to the tribal chief, to the head of the table, to, quite frankly, folks, the GOAT, the reigning and defending undisputed WWE Universal Champion, folks, Roman Reigns, rocking the red, rocking the bloodline tonight here on Jersey First TV. And I want to thank you all for tuning in from wherever and however you may be joining in right now and tuning in via Facebook Live on StreamYard, also on the Jersey First YouTube page, as well as on LinkedIn. Folks, I cannot say enough. And by the way, also, let me sip a little tea since I'm feeling a little braggadocious today about the head of the table, Roman Reigns. A little tea from my Los Angeles Lakers, who they're getting hot at the right time as the NBA playoffs are right around the corner. Nobody wants to play my Lakers in the Western Conference come playoff time. So let me rock a little representation and drink a little tea at the expense of the haters. Folks, you do want to tune in at the end of the show. I'll tell you what's wrong in New Jersey media this week, and you definitely want to stick around for that one. Always remember, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to always share the episodes, and of course, like all of our social media platforms. Don't forget to like Real Talk with Fernando Uribe on Facebook as well as on Jersey First. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. It's the same handle at the Fernando Zone, and also make sure you follow Jersey First as well. Wherever you get your podcast, whether it's on SoundCloud or Spotify, download them, take Jersey First TV with you, and also click the subscribe button on YouTube and make sure you get all the latest episodes of Jersey First programming each and every week, whether it's Real Talk with Fernando Uribe, of course, new episodes of The Nader Narrative hosted by Elizabeth Nader on Thursday nights, and of course, also Bridging the Gap with AJ Malilo and Steven Rambolo, folks, my outstanding teammates. Again, we all comprise the dream team of journalism, folks, in the Garden State. Yes, it's Jersey First TV, and of course, check out all of our great programming via jerseyfirst.org/TV. Again, sharing is caring. We appreciate all of you that do that during the live broadcast, and of course, throughout the week, proudly supporting Jersey First TV. Folks, it is election season, and part of the reason that this show continues to do exceptionally well with all organic traffic, more on that later, of course, is because of the outstanding quality of guests that I bring you every single week. Folks, it is election season. All 80 assembly seats are up for grabs, and all 40 state senate seats are up for grabs. And one very interesting district is the 17th legislative district. Folks, join us here live tonight is the Republican candidate for the state senate in the 17th legislative district, folks. And also, I just got to learn today, a big pro wrestling fan as well. Folks, he's Bill Mikita. Join us here on Real Talk. Bill, how are you?
Hey, Fernando, how are you? I'm not a big fan of the tribal chief, so we'll have to disagree on that one.
Okay. I guess you were rooting for Cody Rhodes. And listen, I get it. I love his father. You know, Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. I grew up loving Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair and all that great stuff that, again, which is what makes pro wrestling really entertaining and fun. And I think one of those guilty pleasures where we don't really have fun with anything anymore. So why not have a little fun as we watch pro wrestling with family and friends? But more on that later. Folks, again, Bill Mikita joins us here tonight. He is running in the 17th legislative district. And for all of you at home that are not familiar with LD 17, it comprises various municipalities down in Middlesex and Somerset counties collectively. They include Franklin in Somerset, of course, Milltown, New Brunswick, my old stomping ground. Oh no, they don't.
It's not Middletown anymore. It's North Brunswick. What they did, they changed it. Obviously, they redistrict. So
Okay.
Gateway, which is where I live, New Brunswick, North Brunswick, southbound Brook, Franklin, Somerset County. So you've got Franklin, Somerset, and southbound Brook are the Somerset County, and the North Brunswick, Piscataway, New Brunswick are the Middlesex County ones. So they changed it. So that's Middletown's out.
Okay, well, Counselor, I appreciate the clarity, and that's why, again, I love my guests giving me the up-to-date information. And folks, again, that's why he's such a great resource. Again, he joins us here tonight. Bill Mikita, LD17 State Senate candidate. Again, you mentioned New Brunswick. It's my old stomping grounds. I'm a proud Rutgers Scarlet Knight. A lot of crazy nights in New Brunswick and Piscataway. I'll leave it at that for my audience.
I wasn't there. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that there. But, Bill, one of the things that I've always enjoyed about doing this show is interviewing candidates. As someone who ran for the state assembly back in 2011, I understand the complexities of running a campaign, sort of the grassroots level, trying to raise money, trying to organize a staff, mobilize, go door to door. I understand all that. So again, congratulations to you taking that leap, getting out there without a doubt to try to improve New Jersey. And I think it's fair to say that the reason you're running is you're not happy with your representation in LD17.
Absolutely not. I live in the district where I'm running against Bob Smith. He's the guy that banned the plastic bags, now trying to ban the forks and the knives. And there's a lot of, he's Mr. Climate Change, and he doesn't care about the whales that died. So yeah, there's a lot of things about what's going on that I'm unhappy with. Really, what I want to do is return normal to the world of crazy. It used to be just, I've been Republican all my life. It used to be about taxes and property taxes, state taxes, income taxes. Now it's about marijuana and teaching sex in schools and dead whales. It's gone crazy. I have a 14. She'll be 15 on Thursday. Happy birthday, sweetie. She's a pitcher. I don't want boys playing in girls' sports because she's a pitcher. I don't want her to get hurt.
I don't blame you. And we'll get to a little bit more about things that bother me as a conservative. You touched up on a couple of them about sex ed curriculum, some of the woke nonsense that permeates in Trenton. But, Bob Smith is the quintessential example, folks, of that fossil that is just growing old in Trenton, that has been there way too long, that's completely out of touch. For a guy that's all about climate change, I'm so worried about the planet, in 20, 30 years, bro, you're not going to be alive in 20 years. What are you talking about here? I mean, Jesus, Bob Smith drives me crazy with this sort of language when he talks about climate change and what I call climate hysteria. I get the plant, by the way, maybe Bob didn't take biology clearly, and he didn't take other science courses, but yeah, the earth warms, the earth cools, it's called cycles. Maybe he's heard of it when he took a geology course or maybe a climatology course, which is really interesting though, Bill. But Bob Smith, again, I think is the poster child for the career politician that's been there way too long, that is really out of touch with New Jersey. But again, because of it's just, there are pockets of New Jersey that are so blue, and sort of the county Democratic apparatuses just keep enabling a lot of the nonsense that Bob Smith represents.
You're absolutely correct. It's actually, when it comes to Bob Smith and climate change, it's worse than you think. So he's Mr. Climate Change, but he's a lawyer who represents warehouse developers before the zoning board. So Mr. Climate Change represents warehouses. A lot of towns, there's a lot of warehouse. In fact, we call our mayor Warehouse or Brian Warehouse. Wow. So he represents entities that are going to bring warehouses in, that's going to create truck traffic, which is going to make the environment worse, only to line his pockets. So he only cares about climate change for other people to pay. Once it affects his pocket, he doesn't care about climate change.
Wow. You mean a far left Democrat legislator being a hypocrite? No way.
Yeah, surprising.
I can't believe it. Unbelievable. Folks, it's 6:09 here on the Ecos. If you just joined us live here on Facebook Live, here, StreamYard, and also on the Jersey First YouTube page, and also on LinkedIn. My guest tonight is the state Senate candidate for the Republican primary in LD17. He is Bill Mikita. Join us here on Real Talk. Now, Bill, let's get a little bit into really the crux of your campaign. And quite frankly, I've talked about it at length here, where I'm very skeptical of the NJGOP because, it seems like the messaging and the outreach isn't as good as it should be. We know that the emperor, I'm sorry, Phil Murphy, the governor, and State Senate President Nick Scutari and Assembly Speaker Craig Coughlin, seem to want us to believe that they care about New Jerseyans and making New Jersey more affordable. For who? I don't know, because it's clearly not becoming more affordable. But I think what's more egregious, I think, is that there's a lot of far left legislators. Again, case in point, Bob Smith. And Bob, again, is so out of touch, I think, with economics, with science. But for whatever reason, the apparatus in that district continues to sort of prop him up and really just say, hey, this is the best choice that we have to represent you in Trenton. And I got to tell you, I look at his voting record, it sucks. I look at his positions, they suck. And unfortunately, I don't know. Again, I think the NJGOP needs to do a better job of messaging. We know that far left Democrats like Bob Smith, they're bad for New Jersey. We know that New Jersey, again, I just saw the number right here in my notes here. We're looking at a little over $9,400, the average property tax bill in New Jersey. People are migrating down to Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas, Texas, because they see that, A, they're better run states with, oh, what a coincidence, red governors, but more so, they're not getting suffocated. Why do you think Bob Smith is so out of touch with that reality?
Well, number one, you have to remember Bob Smith has been there for 35 years.
Yeah.
Not only that, he was mayor of Piscataway in 1981. That makes me, I was 12 years old.
Okay.
I'm 54 right now. So if I'm blessed to be the senator and I serve for 35 years, I'm going to be 89 years old. That's a long time. He's, not to knock on my father, but he's only a little bit younger than my father, and my father's about to retire. So he's been there way too long, and he's only looking really to make money for himself. I hate to say it. And I don't want to, criticize a man for making a living, but he doesn't have our interests at heart. He doesn't have New Jersey, and he certainly doesn't have our district in mind. He's looking to do things to make himself money and to make his friends money and to make his developer friends money. Fernando, we know when we were growing up, when we talked about climate change, it was save the whales, save the whales, save the whales. Whales are dying. Mr. Climate Change. What's going on? I don't know. Nothing to see here. So it's been a very, very, very long time. He's so out of touch. People don't know him. People actually that I talk to don't really like him that much. I personally have only met him a couple of times. I had a lukewarm conversation with him. But he keeps doing Murphy's bidding and whatever Democrat, and now with the new, well, I guess Scutari is not necessarily a new speaker, but he just does what they want.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because he's that quintessential career politician that's just enabling bad policies in New Jersey. But let's get the policies here. Should you be successful coming up this November, Bill, and unseat hopefully, Bob Smith, what would the first 100 days, for example, of State Senator Bill Mikita look like in 2024?
Well, unfortunately, they'll still be, I call him King Phil, or you call him the Emperor. So it's going to be really trying to work with the Republicans to get a veto-proof majority to get rid of the plastic bags ban. That's ridiculous. If you look at the research, Smith is just completely out of touch. He talks about there being plastic in your system. The research is very weak on it, but plastic bags have very little to do with that. You're talking about there's some suggestion now about banning plastic utensils. That would be a no for me. I have an almost 15-year-old daughter. One of the concerns I have is the marijuana legislation. I want to make sure if you're high and you drive, you get pulled over, you actually get some sort of consequence, because we don't want people getting hurt. And that's really what my 100 days is really looking out for the people to make sure they are safe, make sure the schools don't teach anything crazy.
Now, let me ask you this, because again, you mentioned marijuana, and we know that via the ballot referendum in 2020, by an overwhelming margin, New Jerseyans told Trenton, again, because they were dragging their feet, what else is new, on something like cannabis, legal recreational cannabis legalization, and it passed overwhelmingly. Now, let me just preface this by saying, I don't have a dog in the fight. I've never smoked marijuana. I don't care to. It's something that's important to me. I'm all about a good glass of wine and relaxing, taking a nap. Like that's the way I decompress. Now I understand that people for medicinal purposes need it, people to treat anxiety. That's all well and good. That's fine. My concern is, I think, again, because I'm such a staunch fiscal conservative, is very much like the gas tax. Oh, let's put a tax on this and let's raise some revenues, because then we can take the revenues and then sort of reinsert it back into programs that are lacking funding. This is the problem with Trenton, right? Where again, far left, fiscally irresponsible Democrats for 20 years have had control. They've had majorities. Okay, so they'll take in 3 and spend 4. You know, the idea that, oh yeah, let's give dispensary licenses, let's have dispensaries in some of these towns around New Jersey, because these revenues will be great. We can put it back into school funding. We can, put money into seniors programs, whatever. That's never the case. Look at the gas tax. The gas tax was implemented specifically for the Transportation Trust Fund to help improve our roads. Our roads are no better today than when Governor Christie worked with, again, at the time, Steve Sweeney and Craig Coughlin to create the TTF. It's no better. So I don't trust Trenton, to be honest with you, in taking these revenues from cannabis and reapplying them to where they should be applied to. Is that fair?
Oh, you're absolutely correct. Listen, we've had the lottery for years. My father used to make the joke, was just to make a politician's house bigger. Cannabis resources are supposed to go for social justice, yet they don't. It's you've got all this revenue. You were on point right there as far as transportation, the gas tax and fixing potholes. I hit 3 potholes when I was on my way to a trial in Jersey City. It's a mess. It doesn't. What happens is you get this money and they decide to spend it, and they give it to their friends, they give it to their cohorts, and it doesn't get to where the people need it. And it's the same thing with cannabis.
No, you're absolutely right. You speak about, obviously, your law practice. And again, for our audience at home, I know, Bill, you are a personal injury and workers' compensation trial attorney. How has that prepared you to seek public office? Because, again, you're always in front of an audience. You have to be quick on your feet. You have to be witty also, I think. And at the same time, I think you have to be policy smart, which is clearly the opposite of the guy you're running, who wouldn't know a good policy if it hit him like falling from a tree.
Well, to be a trial lawyer, listen, I love the witty thing. My daughter would disagree with you 100% that I'm not witty at all. But what it has to do is you think, number one, you have to prepare. You have to make sure you prepare on the issues. When I'm trying a case, I have to know my case. I have to know who's testifying. I have to make sure my client's prepared to testify. I have to know the law. So preparation is number one. Yes, you learn to think on your feet, talk on your feet, but you also learn how to ask questions, cross-examination. I get to ask, if I was blessed to be your LD17 state senator, I get to ask questions. I get to prepare, and I get to ask them questions about, there's a memo about the turbines being built that may affect the wildlife. What did you guys do about it? I get to ask them questions. So really, it's the preparation as being a trial lawyer and the ability to ask questions that's going to, I think, help me make this thing, make me a good senator and make me help New Jersey. Bob Smith, he's not a litigator. He's a zoning guy. He represents people now on Zoom. So he doesn't know really what to do there, and he doesn't probably care.
Folks, if you're just joining us right now, it's 6:17 here on the East Coast. My guest tonight live here on Real Talk via Jersey First TV is the state senate candidate in LD17, Bill Mikita. Join us here tonight live. Folks, again, sharing is caring. Click that share button and get the episode up tonight on all your social media platforms. Bill, let me ask you this, because it's interesting, again, getting back to, Bob Smith's fixation on climate change, for a guy that acquiesces to Phil Murphy. And again, one of the things about the emperor that's funny, and I'll give the emperor credit. He's never really lied to us. He ran on a platform in 2017, told us exactly what he was going to do. He's been doing it. He's had a lot of accomplices, right? Far left Democrats. He ran on a campaign in 2021. Again, didn't lie to us, telling us basically he wants to make us the California of the East, right? Mr. Climate Change, Mr. Climate Hysteria, right? Oh, let's get rid of, fossil fuel vehicles and let's have all electric vehicles by whatever it is, 2035 or 2040. See, this is the problem. If we've learned anything from California, okay, the power grids out there are getting suffocated with people having to recharge their vehicles. Okay, it's not a reliable mode of transportation. But Phil Murphy doesn't want to hear that. Phil Murphy, Bob Smith are like peas in the same pod. Again, they're not going to be here in 20 or 30 years to see the harmful effects of what these policies represent. And again, they're all about instant gratification. Okay. They sort of remind me of the hot chick I'll pick up at a bar, right? And then you date her a couple of weeks and yeah, the instant gratification is great. But then when you get into the sort of the meat and potatoes of, well, is this a quality person? Is this someone that is substantive? Is this someone that's worth my time? The problem is Bob Smith and Phil Murphy kind of have that same mindset when it comes to policy. They don't care about what happens down the road. They're just about now, because it sounds good. It appeases the progressives in Trenton, all these insufferable, progressive, woke organizations that feed money into their campaigns and kind of coddle them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Think about the Anchor program. The Anchor program, a lot of people love that program because you get your money back.
It's your
money. You just gave a no interest loan to the state. How about giving the money back originally? So Murphy has a lot of problems as far as, I don't think he's the most honest guy in the world, but Bob Smith is just another vote for the Murphy agenda. If you like whales dying, Bob Smith's going to vote for you, is your guy. If you don't want to have plastic bags, Bob Smith's your guy. If you don't want to use plastic forks and spoons, he's your guy. Now, I'm a sloppy guy. If I don't have a plastic fork or a plastic knife, it's going to be all over my body. So if for me to grab it by my hands, it's going to be a mess.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that because, for example, like, okay, summer's coming, right? Froyo, I love going to get frozen yogurt. Whatever girl I'm dating, whatever, I like to go take her out for some frozen yogurt, sit outside. How am I supposed to make frozen yogurt, Bob? Am I going to eat it with my hands? Am I going to be like scooping up vanilla and blueberries? Like, again, it's so myopic because I know him. And the name escapes me, but there's also a state senator in the Mercer County area that was also responsible to, along with Bob. Yes, exactly. These two old fossils need to be put out to pasture politically. I mean, honestly, I'm really rooting for you because, again, I think about, for example, I've gone to Walmart and let's say I've forgotten a bag in my car. You know what I'll do? I'll go to the produce section. And by the way, Bob, all I have to do is take the plastic bag from produce, fill it up with whatever small errands I'm running, and then I go pay for my purchases. So what exactly did the myopic policy of Bob Smith and the other senator accomplish?
Well, think about it. When you drink from a cup, you get a cup at McDonald's or someplace like that, you get a paper straw, but the lid's plastic. It doesn't make any sense. It's crazy. That's why I keep telling people I'm trying to return normal to a world of crazy.
It's crazy to me because, and you hit it on the head. It's even beyond crazy. It's, I think, sheer stupidity. Because one thing is, hey, if you're a sociopath, you don't really know what you're doing. That's one thing. If you know what you're doing and you are still pushing a bad policy, again, I'm not saying this to be inflammatory. There's no other logical explanation other than you're just dumb. And I think that Bob Smith and other far left legislators are just oblivious. It's like these feel-good policies that don't benefit anyone. Like, again, he's probably of the same type of school of thought where, hey, to him, pronouns are more important than property taxes. Bob, I'm sorry. I don't care about pronouns. I care about property taxes and keeping them down. Bob Smith does not. Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. Well, think about it. I'm sure you've had a lot of discussion about the whole Latinx labeling. And my assistant is from Honduras, and she hates it. Absolutely hates it. So they try to destroy the language. They just try to destroy the schools. They try to destroy the climate. And then they try to tell you, oh, but we're helping the children. No. They're not trying to help the children. They're trying to hurt the children. They're trying to make us under their thumb. That's really what it is they're trying to keep us under their thumb.
Speaking of children, Bill, you're a parent. And I know that one of the things that went really underreported in New Jersey last year, for example, again, and we have a lot of irresponsible left-wing media in the state. More on that later, folks. And it just seems like, when it comes to overly sexualizing our children, exposing children to certain curriculum and certain content, again, as a parent, listen, one thing is understanding we have Women's History Month. We have Black History Month. We have Hispanic History Month. We have Pride Month. All right. The ability to learn about prominent and influential and, quite frankly, like great Americans who have contributed to American society over the decades or centuries, whether they're Black, gay, white, Hispanic, whoever. That's all women. That's all well and good. But that's not my complaint. My complaint isn't about, oh, I don't want anyone to learn about gay people. No, that's not the case. My concern, again, I don't have any kids that I know of, but if I was a parent, what bothers me is the idea that school districts, and Bill, we know, I work in academia, okay? As an academic, I can write a syllabus and I can talk about whatever I want. There's really no oversight per se. When it comes to our school district, that's different. And that's why I think so many parents got emboldened last year in New Jersey to run for school board positions, because they're concerned that school boards and school districts, superintendents, supervisors are going rogue with content that, quite frankly, they should not be teaching our kids. Where am I wrong in the way I just characterized this?
You're absolutely not wrong. So in my life, my wife is a first grade teacher. My daughter's a freshman in high school. My son is a junior in college. So my wife is dealing with a lot of pressure coming from above, telling them how to teach, who to teach. And then we have this sort of everything is awesome curriculum and culture where no one has any consequences. The kid's bad, we keep them in school. My daughter, she has a freshman seminar. You should see this thing about giving to the George Floyd Fund, about imperialism. And then my son, as a junior in college, it's woke all the time. I mean, he's not, but a lot of his friends are woke. And as I say, go woke, be broke, become a joke.
I agree with you completely. But I think that also, too, and again, it's like sort of the far left Democrats in Trenton that enabled this. I mean, again, sort of passing it through COVID, also sort of emboldening the governor who, again, he'll fight homophobia when it's convenient. I think we've all learned that, obviously, with what's going on with the Elect Commission, obviously that disgraceful bill that got signed into law, I think, today, which is interesting that the emperor, normally when the emperor signs a bill to designate the state bird, he'll have like 1 million people in a chamber somewhere like, oh my God, here I am. I'm going to sign a bill to, designate as the cuckoo, whatever. But today, when it came to the Elect bill, not a peep, pin drops. I mean, the silence was deafening. And again, whether it was, going after the executive director for maybe being a homophobe, which he's not, or whatever, it just seems like the governor, the far left in Trenton, though, Bill, they're convenient when they want to stick up for minorities, gay people, black and brown people. It's really convenient, I think.
You're absolutely correct. I mean, the elect law is a complete disaster. That's why they all resigned. This is, again, Phil Murphy's attempt to control everything. He wants to control the money. He wants to make sure the Democrat candidates get the money. He wants to make sure that the developers can give money without as much transparency as there was last week. And you're absolutely right. Here's a guy that for every single bill, he has a ton of people. Now it's in secret. I wonder why. It's why he wasn't transparent about it, because the bill itself has eliminated transparency. That's why.
And again, State Senate President Scutari, Assembly Speaker Coughlin, again, acquiescing to this. Instead of sort of, listen, how about down the line, whether it's a Democrat governor or a Republican governor, do we want a governor having this much power over the Elect Commission? Like, that's madness to me. And the idea that nobody, that, again, all the enablers for Governor Murphy didn't have a moment, have some awareness and say, you know what, this is a pretty bad idea on face value. But no, it doesn't seem like common sense is permeating in Trenton.
Well, actually, I don't know if you knew this. Apparently, Sam Thompson voted against the bill until he was reminded that he was now a Democrat. So he voted for it. So this is all about them control. That's really what it is. They want to make sure that they have the power, that they do what they want to do, that they can send their millions of dollars all across the state, make Democrats be elected. And the transparency aspect is absolutely eliminated. We had a 50-year history, I think it's roughly 50 years, trying to make it less and less under the table. But now we're really going to get closer to the back under the table stuff. So it's crazy. Again, and something else is crazy.
No, you're absolutely right. Folks, again, it's 6:28 here on the East Coast on Jersey First TV Live. My guest this evening is State Senate candidate in LD 17, Bill Mikita. We'll wrap it up shortly here on Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. Bill, real quick, back to the campaign here. We know that Republicans obviously are outnumbered by registered Democrats statewide, which is why I think it's so important to really resonate with independents. cycle after cycle, independents seem to decide elections. What can you tell us about what your campaign is planning to do during this cycle to really win over independents? Again, you're working hard. Your campaign team is working hard. No doubt about that. But it's not just about getting Republicans on board. You have to get independents. What's going to be the make or break issue or issues that you think you can win over with independents in LD 17?
Well, the first thing to do, we do have to get Republicans on board, and we have to make sure those presidential voters now vote in my election, and that's going to be through the mail-ins. But as far as independents are concerned, if we can get the Republicans to vote by mail, then I can spend my resources talking to the independent voters. I can talk to them about the plastic bag bill, which nobody seems to like. I can talk to them about the proposal for the spoons and the forks, get rid of the plastic spoons and forks. I can talk to them about environmental changes. I can talk to them to change crimes. I think once we get that message out, and if we spend the resources as a party on our own, making them vote via mail, then we can concentrate our resources on independent voters and talk to them about these issues, about schools. We're going to run a school board candidate talking about schools. Her daughter's a freshman. I think it's going to kick up a lot of dirt in Piscataway, and hopefully it's going to be helpful. And I think, schools, crime, and the environment and the plastic bags, I think, are going to be my issues for the independents. And I think that's where they're going to look, and they're upset at what's going on. I think there's a lot of animosity. I think there's a lot of angst out there, and it's really just telling them they have another place to go, and that's through social media, through mailers. But I'm hoping to do all that, and obviously the boots on the ground.
Bill, you mentioned vote by mail. Obviously, we know that it's not going anywhere, whether it's nationally and especially here in New Jersey. Democrats during COVID, I think, maximized to their benefit a great opportunity to use vote by mail to their advantage. Clearly, we know what it's done when it comes to advantages like that. What I would say is, how do we? I would say, for you as a Republican candidate, what would you say is probably going to be the best thing for you to do to combat, again, the influence of vote by mail? I've always said Republicans need to get tough, and they need to embrace this and really push it as much as Democrats do. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah, vote by mail is not going anywhere. We don't in any way get rid of vote by mail and return it to the regular election that we've all had since up till 2020 until we win. So we have to embrace it. I'm a trial lawyer. I know what the law is, and I use the law to my advantage, and that's really what we do. So what we must do is go after our people who only vote on off-year that only vote on presidential or House of Representative elections, and remind them that their life is controlled really by your state, not really by the federal government. It's the state day to day, and make sure we play to those people that if they're the reluctant voters, we can vote by mail. You don't have to go. And then for our purposes, that vote is already secured, and we don't have to worry about it. We can go on the next people. We can go on the independents. We can talk to a lot of people. We can go on shows like yours, and we can just talk and meet our people and represent what they want to do. But we have to start with the vote by mail, just because we have to get people that only vote on presidential elections or House of Representative elections or even governor's elections to realize, no, you got to vote in this one too, because this affects you pretty more than the federal government does. I mean, really, the federal government that can draft you in some taxes, but your state government is your roads, your schools, your criminal laws.
Sure.
It's got so much that's important.
Absolutely. And Bill, before I let you go here, obviously, I think you touched upon all great angles about what's going on in today's political climate in New Jersey. And so I'm rooting for you. I would love to see LD 17 flip red. I'm certainly rooting for you for sure. But before I let you go here, let me just get to know Bill Mikita, the regular guy. You're an attorney, but you're also, again, a big pro wrestling fan. Again, as I talked about at the start of the program, I'm a big pro wrestling fan too. Last night, over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday collectively, we got to enjoy the 39th edition of the Super Bowl of professional wrestling, WrestleMania. And I think a lot of the grief that us pro wrestling fans get from, spouses, relatives, friends, oh, you watch pro wrestling. My response is like, what do you watch that's just as silly? And 9 times out of 10, Bill, I'm going to get a response like, oh, I watch the Kardashians, or I watch, I don't know, American Idol, which, by the way, I love American Idol because I sing karaoke, or I watch The Masked Singer, or like if if you're watching TV in Spanish, you watch like dumb shows like something that's called Sábado Felices. Like there's something for everybody. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like it's enjoyable. I get together, it's a chance to get together with my buddies, reminisce. We all leave, we all live very busy lives. We get together, talk a little trash, root for who we like, cheer who we like, and boo who we like. That's why I think pro wrestling's still popular for us.
Yeah, listen, I grew up on it. My grandfather loved it. He loved Bruno Sammartino. I grew up a Ric Flair guy, and I grew up with Dusty Rhodes guys. I've wined and dined in Kings and Queens.
The road, and that can be that.
I just loved him. That was one of my favorite guys, and I was a bad guy. I like Flair, like Bruiser Brody. I liked all the bad guys. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. I was rooting for Cody yesterday. Roman. He's gotten better as a heel than he was as a fan favorite. I used to be able to watch it with my son, but he's now a real wrestler. He wrestles club at Penn State, and he was a high school wrestler. So he kind of blew me off. So I watched it alone. Can't get my wife and my daughter watch it.
Is that something that maybe you're somebody might want to pursue? I mean, again, a lot of pro wrestlers were collegiate wrestlers. Brock Lesnar, other Kurt Angle, obviously they go into the Olympic wrestlers. Is that something maybe your son's interested in, or
no? I mean, he's only, I'm built like an offensive lineman. I'm 6'4". He's not quite my size. He's only about 5'10". So he's not. He's more into baseball. He loves wrestling. He loves the Olympics. He loves Penn State wrestling. Penn State's the number one wrestling team in the nation. So he loves that. But pro wrestling, yeah. He's
5'10". We've seen a lot of great pro. Bret the Hitman Hart, Shawn Michaels. I mean, Eddie Guerrero. Take your pick. I mean, you don't have to be Hulk Hogan at 6'4", or Andre the Giant Garza. Yeah, Omos, Jesus, right?
Omos, I actually showed my wife that. I said, look at the size difference. She knew who Brock Lesnar was, and she goes, oh my God.
I know. But you know what? Pro wrestling's enjoyable. Unfortunately, it will be in Philadelphia, in the dump of America. Next April. I'll tell you, what was the man thinking? Like, let me put WrestleMania in the toilet bowl of North America next year. What was he thinking?
He's just looking for East Coast stuff. That's a big stadium. That's what he's looking for.
Yeah, and listen, East Coast it's a mark audience. A lot of pro wrestling fans in New York, New Jersey. Hey, listen, I go to Philadelphia every year. I'm a big Cowboys fan. I go to the Cowboy Eagle games every year. I'm courageous like that. Believe me. I don't know if I can.
I'm a Giants fan, so I don't feel that much bad for you.
I don't know if I can going to Lincoln Financial Field any more than I have to. But again, Bill the guy. It's baseball season. Weather's getting a little bit warmer. Yankees or Mets?
Oh, let's go Mets. Although they got beat 10-0. I'm all in for the Mets. I was a Seaver fan when I was a kid. Pete Alonso and Lindor are my guys now. I wasn't the DeGrom guy, but too bad he went to Texas.
Well, I wish our owner would spend money like yours. I mean, right now, George is rolling in his grave that a CPA is running the Yankees, as far as I'm concerned. So it's crazy. NFL, who do you like?
Giants. I go to several Giant games a year. I've been going since I've been a little kid.
I probably run into you at the Cowboy Giant game that I go to every year, and I'm rocking, Cowboy Nation, as you can see behind me. I probably run into you and I didn't even knew it. So basketball.
I'm a Knicks guy. Love Mike Frazier, love Patrick Ewing. Julius is my guy now. And unfortunately my son loves all my teams. So other than the Giants, he's had some rough go of it.
Okay. Well, yeah, certainly. Absolutely. And hockey.
I'm very fair weather. I'm probably more of and people are going to curse me for this. I'm more of a Rangers fan than a Devil fan, but my old bosses had Devils tickets. So I've been to a million Devil games. But despite the fact that my last name is Mikita and one of my, I guess it's my father's cousins played for the Blackhawks. I love going there, watching it. I'm 50-50 on. I love the playoffs though.
Listen, I'm Hispanic. I'm one of the few Hispanics that loves hockey. I can't wait for playoff hockey with the Devils. I want to see Devils Rangers at some point in the Eastern Conference playoffs. So I think you do too.
Best one ever was 94.
Absolutely. Yeah. Listen, it's been a long time. Been a long time for us, 2003. Bill, before I let you go, again, you're a gentleman. I appreciate you coming on here tonight. Great conversation here, highlighting your pursuit of the state Senate seat in LD 17. I really thank you for your time. I appreciate you being a fan of Real Talk. Don't forget to share the episode. Certainly, I think that if I haven't won you one of your favorite conservative journalists in New Jersey, I don't know what I need to do then, because I think I've done that this evening. But I appreciate your time.
And
really
we'll have to work on that.
Well, no, America's theme through and through. But Bill, I do want to thank. I want to thank you for your time again. You're a gentleman. I'm openly rooting for you. Bob Smith is essentially the poster child of everything that's wrong in New Jersey politics. A guy that's been there way too long. Okay, a guy that, if he entered the legislature when Reagan was in his first term, that should tell you everything, folks. That you need to get this old fossil out of Trenton. I mean, that should tell you everything you need to know about Bob Smith. I think that Bill Mikita is the guy to do that. I'm rooting for you, Bill. I'll give you the last word here tonight on Real Talk.
Fernando, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your causes. And I appreciate all the nice words you've said about me. And listen, we're going to work hard to beat Bob Smith and return New Jersey to the people.
We'll talk to you later on this summer, hopefully maybe into the fall as the campaign season heats up here in New Jersey. A lot to talk about, folks, during this election cycle in 2023. He is Bill Mikita, the LD17 state senate candidate in the upcoming Republican primary. He'll certainly be, again, correct me if I'm wrong, do you have an opponent in the primary, Bill?
I do not. I am running unopposed, so, I should win that, okay. I would think. My mom doesn't live in the district, maybe my wife.
Okay. So listen, my best to you and your family. Happy Easter. Best of luck to your son out there in Penn State. So best of luck to your daughter, obviously, in her athletic endeavors. And listen, keep up the good fight. Flip that district red. And we'll talk to you soon once again here on Real Talk via Jersey First TV.
Happy Easter, Fernando. Thank you.
Happy Easter. Good night. Folks, great segment here tonight with Bill Mikita again, running in LD17. See, folks, that's very winnable, I would argue, in a district I think you definitely want to keep an eye out for coming up during this election cycle. Bob Smith, folks, he's been there way too long. Again, when you just entered office, right around when Reagan was president, that should be the telltale sign you need to go. Okay, Bob Smith needs to go. I'm hoping that Bill Mikita is the guy to take him out this November on Election Day. Folks, before we call it a night here, again, one of the things I like to do is obviously browse the news cycle in New Jersey. And of course, whenever I see bad journalism, of course, hey, I like to call it out because it continues to do us a disservice. And when we think about bad journalism, you know what? I think, of course, of, we all know who it is, folks. The charisma vacuum known as Max Pizarro with Insider NJ. And Max, again, aside from putting us to sleep with his boring columns, here's one that really, really got my attention here, talking about the recent indictment of the 45th president, Donald Trump. And he talks about Trump indicted and New Jersey reacts. So just check out, folks, I'm not going to read you all of it. I'm just read you some parts here that I think are just kind of egregious from Max. President Donald J. Trump often invokes his own interpretation of history as a way of amplifying his terminal sense of victimhood, as he did when he characterized himself as the worst treated president in U.S. history, apparently forgetting about men like Abe Lincoln, John F. Kennedy, and others. But this time, the perennial fact-challenged ex-whiner-in-chief, that's interesting about, Max calling somebody else fact-challenged. Pot, kettle, black, Max maybe. I think that cowboy hat is too tight on your head, by the way. But finally scored an A on his history test. This time, the Apprentice reality TV show star turned Oval Office inhabitant actually did make history, becoming the first former U.S. president to absorb criminal charges. Yeah, obviously, I think there are other presidents that I think certainly should have beat him to it. More on that later, right? Obviously, going on talking about the president's statement last week about Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, a George Soros-funded selection to run for district attorney, who was handpicked and funded by George Soros, is a disgrace, which he is. Unfortunately, Max doesn't have the intellectual honesty to tell you that. Rather than stop the unprecedented crime wave taking over New York City, which is true. See, folks, Max lives in his cozy little house down the shore, right? And he rarely gets off his ass to go to any sort of media events, right? Whether he's riding horses or whatever he's doing, he's not really out there. But I live right across the river, Max, from Manhattan, so I know what's going on every day. I frequent Manhattan. And I've been very fortunate to be very safe where I go. But as we all know, Manhattan has turned into absolute, feces. Crime is up. We have a district like Alvin Bragg that pretty much has downgraded multiple felonies into misdemeanors, and that's why New York City is in the state that it's in, right? And you would think that Alvin Bragg would be more concerned in cleaning up New York and making sure that innocent people aren't getting assaulted in subways, that people aren't getting shot in the street, that police departments are being respected. You would think that Alvin Bragg would focus on that, right? But no, he's talking about a former president who had sex with a porn star when he was a candidate, or maybe years before, and he decided during his candidacy to pay money to make sure that the story didn't leak out. Yes, because we all know that if a porn star looked at Max Pizarro wouldn't jump all over that. Yes, okay. I mean, that's sort of a fantasy, but you get what I'm saying. Like the idea to be sanctimonious, Max, about, you know, highlighting this and saying that what you think Alvin Bragg is doing is a good thing is nonsense. Okay, it really is. Because of everything going wrong in New York, this is what Alvin Bragg is focusing on, right? The former president, again, as a candidate, right, who decided to instruct his attorney to pay hush money to a porn star that he had sex with. Oh my God, wow. A man who's a billionaire, who's famous and has influence, is having sex with porn stars and really, really hot, famous women. Wow, that's unbelievable. I've never heard of that. Oh my God, that's unheard of. Really? Like, and this is what people on the left, like Max Pizarro and the other sycophants, right, at Insider NJ focus on. Instead of sort of taking Alvin Bragg to task on this ridiculous weaponization of his office, no, Max Pizarro would rather be sanctimonious, right, and virtue signal on his column. Let's continue, right? Talking about, you know, again, the president's quote that he's doing Joe Biden's dirty work, which he is. Right? Ignoring the murders and burglaries and assaults they should be focused on. This is how Bragg spends his time. That's true, because New York has become really a third world kind of environment under Alvin Bragg. Right? We started under Bill de Blasio for 8 years. We're seeing it now under Eric Adams, and we're seeing it now under this left-wing woke district attorney. But again, Max decides to sort of quote certain people here who don't have one legal leg to stand on in the sense of morality. Talk about, you know, referencing Cory Booker. No one is above the law. This indictment isn't a trivial matter. It means that a grand jury, an impartial group of citizens sworn by oath to perform their duties faithfully, has decided that there's enough evidence to charge former President Trump with committing a crime. For a guy that governed Newark as criminally as he did, I think it's rich for Cory Booker to talk about anything being criminal. Right? Let's talk about another guy who, again, lacks awareness. Another attorney, right? Chris Christie, former governor. Again, fellow Cowboys fan. That's the only redeeming quality I can think of when it comes to Chris Christie. Right? And of course, you know, talking about, you know, people in New Jersey, they're either rejoicing or everything else, right? Now, again, folks, you know, when we look at it, it's based on the fact that the Trump case is spearheaded by Bragg. It's involving a payment made before the 2016 presidential election to Stormy Daniels, an adult film actress, right? What's interesting, though, again, and Bragg, when he was running for district attorney in 2021, said it explicitly, I'm going out to get Donald Trump. If that's not a clear indicator that you're trying to weaponize your office, I don't know what is. But do you think Max would tell you that? You think Max would ever write a column about that? Of course not. That will require Maxwell to, again, have some integrity. That's a four-syllable word that I know he struggles with, among other things. Okay? He'd never tell you that. Or, again, there's a simple Google search it takes, right? We're talking about, a guy running for office who's a candidate looking to pay hush money to keep an affair quiet. Max, I'm just curious. Like, were you as outraged back in the day when Bill Clinton was actually president and in the White House and making sure that hush money was paid to Paula Jones because of a sexual harassment lawsuit? Okay. One thing is you want to go bang porn stars. Good for you. I think every guy would argue that if he has a chance to bang a porn star, he would. Even you, Maxie. Okay. But Bill Clinton, again, among other things, committed sexual harassment and made sure that this settlement was paid while he was president. Do you think Max Pizarro ever wrote a column on that? Newsflash, he didn't. And neither did anybody else at Insider NJ and the rest of the left-wing media. So please spare me your sanctimony and your outrage about a former president paying hush money when he was a candidate. We had a sitting president who did the exact same thing, but not a peep from people like Max Pizarro. Again, folks, it's hard to trust New Jersey media, and it's hard to trust people like Max Pizarro when they're as intellectually dishonest and intellectually bankrupt as his peers in the liberal media in New Jersey. But what else can you expect, folks, again, from Max Pizzaro, the charisma vacuum of New Jersey media, and certainly a guy that, quite frankly, you can't really trust anything he writes because it's not coming from a place of integrity, and it's not coming from a place of credibility either. So again, if you have a chance, check out that joke of a column because, quite frankly, if you need a laugh, you're going to get one by reading Max Pizzaro's latest column with Insider NJ. Before I let you go tonight, folks, I hate to be the type of guy that says, I told you so, but you know what? I told you so. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, for the month of March, once again, traffic continues to be amazing here with Jersey First TV. As you can see, there are over 10,000 plus views for Real Talk with Fernando Uribe in the month of March via Facebook, also obviously via YouTube, obviously LinkedIn. Folks, see, this is the thing. And the reason that I make it a point to remind you about traffic is, again, there's a lot of haters out there. There's a lot of people in New Jersey. And the reason that I have such a chip on my shoulder and the reason that I work as hard as I do is because I heard it for years. You're not going to make it in this business. Okay? You don't have what it takes to make it in this business, Fernando. And that's why I sort of have this chip on my shoulder. And this is why I work as hard as I do. And this is why I'm as defiant as I am. Because again, folks, nothing's boosted here. Everything's organic. There's no paid ads to tell you to watch Real Talk like other news sites in New Jersey that beg you for $1 to subscribe to the news site, or paid for sponsored ads on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. None of that here, folks. Everything here is organic. Okay? So we think about who's making a difference in journalism, who's making an impact in journalism. It's very simple, folks. Over here, I'm cooking filet mignon. A lot of you journalists out there, you know what you're doing? You're heating up McDonald's in your microwave. We're not the same. And for a lot of journalists, again, I say it all the time. For all the little Mickey Mouse journalists, your little Mickey Mouse shows with your Mickey Mouse traffic, it's very simple. I understand, and I feel bad for your struggle. I feel terrible that you wake up in the morning and you say, you know what? Can I be great today? And you go about having breakfast and you rush out the door to get to work. And then you're sitting at your desk at work and you think about what to have for lunch and you're thinking, how can I be great today? And then the day continues. You go home, you're stuck in rush hour traffic to get home. You take a nap, you get undressed, whatever. You're making dinner. And then you think about yourself, how can I be great? Will I be great? Can I be great? And then you go to sleep and you repeat the cycle the next day. And there are just some people that wake up, folks. It's great. We're not the same. So you know what? You can say it's braggadocious. You can say I'm arrogant. You can say I'm smug. You can say I'm cocky. You can say I'm full of myself. But folks, what I am is factual. You don't have to like it. You don't have to like these numbers, folks, but facts are facts. And the facts do not care about your feelings. And specifically, more than anything, I don't care about your feelings either. Sorry, folks. To quote the greatest of all time, Nature Boy Ric Flair, whether you like it or you don't like it, learn to love it, because this right here, it's the best thing going today in New Jersey media. Woo! I'll leave it at that. Folks, that's our show for this week. Once again, I want to thank Bill Mikita, State Senate candidate in LD 17, for joining us here tonight. Great episode. Sharing is caring, folks. Always check us out on all of our social media platforms. Of course, like Real Talk with Fernando Uribe and Jersey First on Facebook. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the Fernando Zone, also at Jersey First. Subscribe to the Jersey First YouTube page. And of course, wherever you get your podcasts, whether on Spotify or SoundCloud, download it and take Jersey First with you wherever you go. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, of course, yes, listen, I'm so proud to be a part of the Jersey First team. Again, my outstanding teammates, Elizabeth Nader, the host of the Nader Narrative. New episodes air on Thursdays via jerseyfirst.org/TV. And also new episodes of Bridging the Gap with AJ Malilo and Stephen Rimbolo. They air on Thursday nights as well. You can check out Real Talk with Fernando Uribe live every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern time right here, folks. It's the dream team of Jersey media, it's always Jersey First TV. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, you know what we're doing here at Jersey First TV, folks? We're always educating, we're always engaging, and we're always entertaining. We're doing it better than anybody in Garden State media. And yes, I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, top 100 Latino via the Latino Spirit online magazine, the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media, and without a doubt, the people's choice and the people's voice. It's me, Fernando Uribe. Folks, happy Easter. God bless all of you. Happy April. Folks, thank you so much for checking out Real Talk with Fernando Uribe here on Jersey First TV. And as always, thank you so much for watching.